This episode, I tell the story of a 29-year-old Patrice Wilson from Detroit. Patrice was a nurse, a mother, a woman trying to build a better future for herself and her son. But on May 13th, in the year 2023, after finishing an overnight shift at the hospital, Patrice disappeared.
It's heartbreaking to know that DMC didn't keep her safe.
On what would have been Patrice Wilson's 30th birthday, her family gathers around their attorney in Southfield, claiming the hospital where she worked, Detroit Medical Center, played a role in her death.
But it's a murder that could have been prevented had DNC Hospital stepped up and done what they were supposed to do in terms of protecting her and other nurses who work down there.
Attorney Michael Fortner seeking $200 million from Tenet Healthcare and DMC, saying there was surveillance video of Patrice's alleged killer lurking around the hospital grounds as he waited for her to get off her shift as a nurse. But Fortner says security did not step in, and that's not.
A man waiting for her inside the hospital parking garage. He was wearing a blonde wig, as if he was trying to hide his identity from cameras and eyewitnesses. Moments later, Patrice would be kidnapped in broad daylight. The next day, her body was discovered inside her own SUV. Investigators quickly realized this was not a random attack. The person responsible appeared to know Patrice personally, including where she worked and at what time a shift always ended. And when the police finally identified the suspect, another family began asking painful questions, because years earlier, another woman connected to the same man had disappeared without a trace and has never been found. This is the story of Patrice Wilson, a nurse who disappeared after a night shift. It was early morning in Detroit, Michigan. Inside Detroit Medical Center, nurses were finishing overnight shift while doctors prepared for another busy day. The hospital was beginning to wake up after a long night. Among the staff that were working that night was Patrice Wilson. Patrice had just completed another overnight nursing shift. Like many healthcare workers, she worked long, exhausting hours, caring for patients while balancing responsibilities at home. Friends and family described Patrice as a hard-working lady, caring, and deeply devoted to her son. Even though nursing was stressful and demanding, Patrice continued pushing forward because she wanted to create a stable future for her child. People close to Patrice said she had been trying to rebuild her life after the end of a difficult relationship earlier. For nearly 3 years, Patrice had dated a man named Jamir. But by the year 2023, the relationship had ended. According to the family members and friends, Patrice wanted to move on peacefully and focus on her work and motherhood. But investigators would later learn that Jamir allegedly struggled to accept the breakup. Still, nothing about the morning of May 13th appeared unusual. Patrice finished work like she always did. She gathered her belongings and walked towards the parking structure where her SUV was parked. There was no reason for Patrice to believe she was in danger at all. She had parked there many times before. It was part of her normal daily routine to park SUV at the parking garage. But investigators later discovered that someone had already been there waiting for her. Security footage from the parking garage showed a man lingering near the area before Patrice's arrival. He was not heading toward an exit. He was not walking to another vehicle. Instead, investigators believed he appeared to be waiting specifically for Patrice. This man was also wearing a wig. Police later said he had on a blonde wig in apparent attempt to hide his identity from surveillance cameras. The man put on the blonde wig to attempt to hide his identity from CCTV cameras. At the same time, Patrice was on the phone speaking with a friend. She had no idea that danger was waiting for her only a few steps away. As Patrice approached her SUV, the man suddenly moved towards her. According to investigators, he pulled out a gun. Patrice screamed in fear. The friend on the phone reportedly had the terrifying moment happening live during the call. Then suddenly, the phone was disconnected. Investigators believed Patrice was forced into her own SUV at gunpoint. Only minutes later, the vehicle was seen leaving the parking structure. It was the last time Patrice Wilson was seen alive after the night shift. Almost immediately, people close to Patrice realized something was wrong. The friend who heard Patrice screaming became alarmed and quickly contacted Patrice's family members. Patrice's mother became deeply worried because this behavior was completely unlike her daughter. Patrice would never disappear without checking on her son or contacting family members. When repeated calls went unanswered, police were contacted and investigation quickly began. Detectives immediately started retracing Patrice's last known moments after the night shift. Their first stop was Detroit Medical Center, where Patrice had finished her night shift. Detectives reviewed the security footage from the parking garage, hoping to understand what had happened after Patrice finished her night shift. What they discovered changed the case immediately. This was no longer being treated as a missing person investigation. Detectives now believed Patrice had been kidnapped. Police began tracking Patrice's SUV while investigators looked closely into her personal relationship and daily routine. In many abduction investigations, detectives first focus on people closest to the victim. Investigators asked difficult questions. Did Patrice have problems with anyone? Was anyone angry with her? Did anyone know her work schedule and where she parked every day? All these questions were not answered at this moment. Very quickly, one name began standing out to detectives: Jamir Miller. Police learned that Jamir and Patrice had dated for nearly 3 years before the relationship ended. Investigators also learned that Patrice had decided to move on. But according to people close to her, Jamir allegedly had trouble accepting the breakup. Jamir did not accept the breakup with Patrice. Family members later told investigators that Jamir continued contacting Patrice after the relationship ended earlier. They said they allegedly sent gifts and flowers even after Patrice rejected the attempts to reconnect. Detectives now believed Jamir knew Patrice's work schedule, where she parked and what time her overnight shift usually ended. As investigators continue looking into Jamir's background, they made another disturbing discovery. His name had once been connected to another woman who disappeared years earlier. Now, this lady was called Bianca Green. More than 10 years before Patrice disappeared, Bianca Green vanished from Romulus Measure. Bianca Green also disappeared. She was a young mother who also shared a child with Jamir. According to Bianca's family, she and Jamir had an on and off relationship. Bianca was described as a caring, hardworking, and focused on building a better future for herself and her child. She worked at an airport sandwich shop while also attending college's classes. Bianca reportedly dreamed of becoming a nurse one day. In the year 2011, Bianca was pregnant again, but around the same time, she suddenly disappeared without explanation. Her family became worried almost immediately when Bianca stopped answering calls and messages. Eventually, her phone began going straight to voicemail. Strange text messages were later sent from Bianca's phone claiming she wanted to leave and start a new life somewhere else. But her loved ones did not believe those messages reflected Bianca's true intentions. Bianca's car remained parked at her apartment. Most of her belongings were still inside. There was also no activity on her bank accounts. To Bianca's family, no one of it made sense. They believed something terrible had happened to Bianca. Police questioned Jamir at that time, but investigators said they did not have enough evidence connecting him to Bianca's disappearance. As years passed, Bianca's case slowly faded from the public attention. But her family never stopped searching for answers. Now in the year 2023, after Patrice Wilson's disappearance, Bianca's loved ones began wondering if the two cases could somehow be connected. And this brings us back to Detroit. Investigators continue urgently searching for Patrice Wilson. Time was critical because detectives still hoped she might be alive. Police tracked her SUV across the Detroit area, while detectives carefully reviewed surveillance footage from the parking structure frame by frame. Then a man in the blood wig appeared calm and organized. Investigators believed his behavior looked planned. He seemed to know exactly where Patrice would be and when she would arrive. Eventually, investigators identified the suspect seen in the footage. Police said they believed the man was Jamir Miller, the ex-boyfriend to Patrice and Bianca. According to investigators, his body shape, walking style, and appearance matched the man captured on the security cameras inside the garage. The blood wig, investigators believe, was allegedly used to distinguish himself before carrying out the attack. With that identification, the investigation moved very quickly. Jamir officially became the main suspect in Patrice Wilson's disappearance, but investigators still had one urgent goal. They needed to find Patrice. Her family continued hoping she would somehow be found alive, but this was a no-go zone to the family. Then on May 14th in the year 2023, only one day after Patrice disappeared. Police located her SUV at the apartment complex in Novi, Meagan. Officers carefully approached the vehicle. What they discovered inside confirmed everyone's worst fear. Her body had been placed in the back of her own SUV. The discovery completely changed the investigation. What had started as kidnapping case officially became a homicide investigation. Police publicly identified Jamir as the suspect and released his information across local news stations. As pressure from investigators increased, Jamir eventually turned himself into authorities. He was arrested and charged in connection with Patrice Wilson murder. For Patrice's family, the heartbreak was overwhelming. Patrice had simply gone to work like she always did. She completed her overnight shift and should have safely returned home to her son. Instead, her life had been violently taken away by her ex-boyfriend. After Jamir's arrest, Bianca Green's family began revisiting painful questions they had carried for years. If Jamir was capable of kidnapping and killing Patrice Wilson, what did that mean to Bianca Green? Had warning signs been missed years earlier? Had Bianca's disappearance not been investigated through enough? These were questions from Bianca's family. These difficult questions reinforced once again the investigation. But despite renewed attention on Bianca's case, she was still never been found. Her disappearance remains unsolved to this day. Prosecutors began building a timeline on Patrice Wilson murder. According to investigation and investigators, the attack appeared carefully planned. Police believed Jamir waited inside the parking garage because he had already known Patrice's daily routine. Investigators believed he targeted her after becoming obsessed with the failed relationship. Footage from the parking structure became one of the strongest pieces of evidence in the case. Detectives also collected statements from Patrice's friends, co-workers, and family members. Together, investigators said the evidence painted a disturbing picture. Police believed this was not a random violence. They believed the crime was deeply personal. Eventually, Jamir accepted the plea deal. In the year 2023, November, he pleaded guilty to second-degree murder in Patrice Wilson's death. Because of the plea agreement, there will be no lengthy public trial. Patrice's family will not have to sit through weeks of painful testimony and graphic evidence. But plea also meant some questions might never have been fully answered. During the sentence, Jamir admitted responsibility for Patrice's death. He reportedly told the court that he felt ashamed and acknowledged that what happened should never have happened. In a written statement, Jamir said he often thought about the morning Patrice died. For Patrice's family, hearing those words was emotional and painful. Nothing could bring Patrice back. Nothing could erase the trauma the family experienced. But at least there was accountability. The judge sentenced Jamir to between 35 and 60 years in prison. For Patrice's loved ones, the sentence brought some measurement of justice. But for Bianca's Green family, things still felt unfinished. One case had finally reached conclusion. The other remained a mystery. Months after Patrice's murder, our family took another major step. They filed a civil lawsuit against Detroit Medical Center. According to the lawsuit, Patrice's family believed the hospital failed to provide enough security for employees working overnight shift. The family added that warning signs were missed and that no one should be able to hide inside parking structure waiting for workers without being noticed. The lawsuit raised larger concern about workplace safety, especially for nurses and healthcare workers leaving hospitals late at night or early in the morning. Patrice's loved ones said they hoped stronger security measures could help. Detroit Medical Center denied wrongdoing and stated that existing safety procedures had been followed, but Patrice's family believed more should have been done to protect employees in that hospital. As the case gained national attention, many people were shocked by how quickly violence erupted after the end of relationship. Advocates and community members also pointed to dangers of stalking, obsession, and relationship violence after breakups. For many people following the case, Patrice Wilson's story became a painful reminder that some victims continue facing danger even after ending a relationship. Friends describe Patrice as someone who simply wanted peace and stability for herself and her son. Instead, her life ended in a horrifying act of violence inside hospital parking garage after finishing a night shift helping others. And even after Jamir's conviction, Bianca Green's disappearance continued haunting investigators and families alike. Bianca's loved ones still hope that one day they will finally learn what happened to their daughter. To this day, Bianca Green has never been found. Patrice Wilson was only 29 years old. She was a nurse. She was a mother. She was someone trying to build a better future for her child through hard work and sacrifice. The story shocked many people across the country because it was shown how dangerous obsession and unsolved anger can become. For Patrice's family, the pain of losing her will never fully disappear, but they continue speaking about her life and it's connected by one man. Patrice Wilson deserved to return home safely after work. Bianca's Green deserved to be found. And by telling their stories, their loved ones hope neither woman will ever be forgotten. Thank you for listening to this episode, and may Patrice Wilson rest in peace. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and follow for more true crime stories about Black women. This is Untold America.